Now, where are the leading countries headed? Let's look at Japan. They're the best. I'm not going to go through all of these. Our paper will have much more detail on each one of these. Japan, fastest, cheapest broadband in the world today. In 2001, when we were fourth, they were nowhere. They had almost no broadband capacity at all. So their government leaders and their private sector leaders got together and said, we need to be number one. And they set themselves a mission. They called it Electronic Japan. They put on a full court press and all hands on deck strategy and said, we're going to be number one. They supported it with government subsidies, with tax incentives, with support for local government initiatives, with use of government purchasing power, everything they could think of. They had monthly cabinet meetings with the top officials in the government, and within 3 or 4 years, they had the best infrastructure in the world. And then they decided that wasn't good enough, and they developed what's called the U-Japan, meaning Ubiquitous Japan Initiative. That has two meanings. Ubiquitous means that they're going to integrate wireless and fiber all across the country, so it's like a seamless web of connectivity. You go from one to the other without even noticing that you're changing. You walk in with your wireless devices into your home, you're picked up by your wireline systems, and all of society will be doing that as well. And second part of ubiquitous means that broadband is going to figure into everything that they do to try to solve the country's problems, from an aging population to environmental issues to rising gas prices there as well. Today in Japan, companies compete with each other at 1 gigabit per second. That's the point of competition. That's going to increase to about 10 gigabits per second. You know how fast that is. You've just seen it on the tool that we used before. That is ridiculously beyond where we are as a country. How can we compete economically and otherwise when they're moving at the speeds that we're at the bottom of that tool and we're up at the top? It just can't happen. How can our kids stay competitive with kids in other countries if they're either, as in some cases in North Carolina and else in the United States, they can't even get broadband at all, and when they can get it, it's at speeds much less than their counterparts around the world are getting. South Korea, right behind Japan. China, also from nowhere, bang, they've moved right beyond us to the most broadband lines in the world. They were building out DSL, and they recently said this is a ladder leaning against the wrong wall, and they shut down many of their DSL projects and are converting them to fiber. Hong Kong, you can already get gigabit per second connectivity at very low rates compared to ours. Singapore will have a gigabit throughout the country, half of the country by 2012, the rest of it by 2015. Taiwan heading to 100 megabits per second. How about the European nations? Sweden, France, Netherlands, Norway, Italy, United Kingdom, all of them moving to 100 megabit connectivity.